to today's webinar, You Put Lighting Where, Expanding the Possibilities of Lighting. My name is Melissa Miller, and I'm the Digital Marketing Manager for Hardware Resources. Today's presenter is going to be Keith Clark. He's a Product Manager for Task Lighting. And before we get started, I just wanted to go over a couple of housekeeping items. First, for any troubleshooting issues, if you can't connect very well, on the bottom left hand of the screen, it says test your connection. You can go there. And if that's not the issue, then there's some other troubleshooting things you can try. We'll be doing all questions at the end. So if you have a question, please put it into the box. You'll find that underneath the resources tab onto the right-hand side. On the resources tab, you're also going to find some really good resources for you to take with you. So please feel free to download those. And then there will be a recording of this webinar, and we will be emailing that out to everybody who has attended and registered for this event. And that will go out within by beginning of next week. Anyway, I'd like to welcome Keith Clark to today's webinar.
All right, thank you, Melissa. Hey, everybody, welcome to this webinar. I'm really excited to present on this topic today because I think it's something that needs more attention. The title, You Put Lighting Where, Expanding the Possibilities for Lighting, really refers to the fact that everybody spends a lot of time talking about lighting in a kitchen, somewhat lighting in a bathroom, but a lot of time spent on lighting in a kitchen. And there are so many other places where we're seeing lighting popping up, being used in more and more creative spaces. And so I wanted to kind of go through that aspect of it with you and kind of talk to you and give you some ideas and some different places where you can put lighting that will add some really nice effects to various rooms throughout the home and beyond. So let's dive right in. The first thing that I want to talk about is kind of why people are going outside the kitchen. Why are they venturing out and putting lighting in more places in the home? And the first point, layered lighting is probably a concept that you have heard in the past. If you're not familiar with what that refers to, it basically, when you're in a typical home, most of the lighting comes from the ceiling level, or it comes from a hanging pendant light or a fixture or something like that. Maybe sometimes a wall sconce in certain houses. But layered lighting takes that away, or it builds onto that and takes the emphasis off of that ceiling or that high level lighting and adds it at eye level, it adds it at workspace level, and it adds it at floor level. So for the second point, illuminating walkways is exactly what I'm talking about. So that lowest level of lighting that you can obtain is illuminating a walkway, which people use at nighttime. They can light a path, if they're walking down a hallway or if they're headed to the bathroom, various other opportunities there. But creating those layers it's an extra important thing in homes these days. The human eye appreciates it. It just does good things for your general atmosphere in the home. And so that's what I'm going to talk about as different layers that you can acquire in every room, and then just creating less harsh environments by being able to eliminate those ceiling lights and various items throughout the day. Maybe in the evenings when you wind down, you don't need the ceiling lights on at full brightness. That's why people started putting dimmers in, is because they wanted to be able to turn that lighting down. Well, think of this as a way to do that, right? But now you're changing from a harsh ceiling light to the glow of some additional lighting that you've put in various spaces. And so it allows you to change that feel of the room. And then, of course, adding utility. I talked about workspace lighting as a layer. Kitchen countertops is where you commonly see that used, but there are lots of other surfaces where you're working, whether it's offices, studies, garages, various places we'll cover throughout this presentation. So there's a lot to be gained from adding lighting in these other places. And we're going to get into that quick. But first, what I want to go through is just to give you a little reference on what I'm going to be discussing. So the majority of what you'll see throughout this presentation will be linear fixtures and tape light. A linear fixture is it's a pre-assembled fixture that lights up. Tape light is the flexible lighting with an adhesive backing that you stick to a surface and it lights up. Those are the dominant two that you'll see, and I will be calling those out as I go through. You'll also see some other neat things like our lighted closet rod, which is exactly what it sounds like. It illuminates. It's a rod that is designed to illuminate clothing hanging beneath it. So it's a really, really nice effect. You'll get to see that later on. The lighted power strip combines lighting and power into a single fixture. So it has the receptacles right there on the device. So with one device, you can plug into it, you can get power, the lighting, you get that as well. You'll see that through here. A flexible sheet lighting is typically used for backlighting applications, such as putting underneath a countertop. There are people who are backlighting backsplashes now. There's lots of places that you'll see that. And then a puck light is, pretty specifically designed to illuminate a certain space. It's got a very angular, flood effect, so it's going to illuminate an object or a small cabinet space, those things along the way. So that's what you can expect to see here. So let's get into the bulk of it. And the first place that I want to talk about is the bathroom. So if you look here, a typical bathroom, this one has a couple of lights on the wall. It's got some ceiling lighting and all that. So this is our unlit version, but when you light it up, you can immediately see the difference that it makes having lighting in more places than just the typical, right? So in this situation, you've got some shelf lighting installed in a couple places. You've got a backlit mirror, which adds just a really nice glowing effect around the outside of that mirror. Here's more shelf lighting, and then of course lighting underneath that vanity. So when we talk about the bathroom and the things you can do there, obviously there is just a lot of opportunity to improve the experience of being in that bathroom, right? Let's focus on the vanity. So when I say lighting underneath the vanity, let's talk about what it would be like to have that on a sensor, right? So imagine, there are people who get up at night, you have to go to the bathroom, you have to do various things. You get out of bed, it's a dark path to get to wherever you're going. One of the things we're seeing a lot of right now are people taking the lighting underneath the vanity and basically creating a night light out of it, where they've got some kind of sensor installed that will detect motion. And so when they're walking to the bathroom, boom, the lights come on. You've got this nice illuminated path, and the lights will stay on as long as needed to get your business done and move on. So it's really neat, the creativity that we're seeing people bringing into the bathroom spaces. There's any number of things that you can put on a sensor, or you can illuminate to create an extra effect. Some of them, like the backlit mirror, are mostly for aesthetic appeal. Under vanity lighting, shelf lighting is a more functional appeal. So there's lots of opportunity there to go along with that. When you're putting in this lighting, like taking a look at the shelf lighting specifically, right there is where I mentioned earlier, tape lighting or fixtures. Ideal for those spaces. They just run along that front edge. They illuminate the space. It creates a really nice glow effect inside those shelves. Backlighting that mirror, that's almost always going to be some form of tape lighting that is back and behind that mirror, wrapping all the way around the outside and illuminating outward, creating that glow around the mirror. And under the vanity, that's typically going to be tape lighting as well. It could also be a fixture that's been assembled and put in underneath there. So there's different ways that you can do this and connect it up, but ultimately the look is very nice. Moving on to the closet here. This one is a really exploding right now. Was what we've been seeing. We attend closet shows. We talk to people. We're getting more and more into this market, and as we do, we see that the growth that's come along with it. So this closet, not illuminated versus illuminated, is just a massive visual difference. When you light it up, there's just so much that you can do, and it just makes it such an inviting space. Closets are often associated with damp, dark areas, you go into, and it's just a storage place. You never see it. It's not designed to look good, but that doesn't have to be the case. You can design a closet that looks very nice. And you see that a lot lately with people putting in these really, high-end colorful cabinets and things in closets, and they're taking that space from something that has been deemed less attractive in the past to something that's really, truly special. And lighting really helps add to the appeal to that. So you can see installed in this one, the lighted closet rod I discussed earlier there, running across, clothes hang from it, and it illuminates those clothes to create a nice glow effect there and allow for easier color matching, easier picking out of the clothes, deciding on outfits, and so on and so forth. The in-cabinet lighting, you can see both in the upper end and these lower cabinets, creates that glow on the shoes or purses, whatever it is that's stored inside. Creates a really, really nice look and aesthetic appeal, while also being functional because it helps you see better into that space. The above cabinet lighting in this one, you can see, creates that glow across the ceiling. Just adds extra emphasis on that space. It just creates a nice additional look for it and some extra lighting. And then the toe kick lighting, which you can see there runs across the bottom of those cabinets and illuminates the floor space there. So again, lots of extra illumination being added into this closet space. Really, really adds some additional visual appeal here. While I'm talking about closets, I talked in the last one about people putting lights on sensors. That's another very common thing that we're seeing in closets. It's really nice to be able to, maybe you've got a double doors that you swing open to get into your closet, and then that motion is detected and boom, the lights come on. So that creates a really nice, immediate impact whenever you're opening the door and coming in. It's also just a convenience factor. Just really nice to be able to walk in. You don't have to fool and fumble with the switch. The lights are going to detect you. They're going to come on. And now suddenly you're in a very illuminated, lit closet space. And so it just makes the experience that much better and easier to function. Okay. Moving on to the bedroom. And I'm going to kick my camera off here for a minute on this one so we can talk about it. So in this bedroom, you can see here there are numerous shelves, numerous places to light. So without illumination, this is what it looks like. When we light it up, though, as you'll see, there's lots of different lighting suddenly all in these spaces, right? We've got these bookshelves across the back. You've got the shelf across the top of the bed. So let's go through kind of some of the lighting that's installed here. First, the shelf lighting, of course. That's what I mentioned first. And it's illuminating those books. It just creates a nice visual look and a functional additional lighting in that space. You've got the TV backlit here, and it's backlit in a blue. You can see the blue around the room. We'll get to that, through all the different places you see that. But this is a very common thing. You're seeing this a lot of times, especially in teenage rooms these days. They have the RGB lighting that runs all the way around the edges of their room. A lot of the times when you see it, it's not really an expert installation, so it doesn't quite look as good. But you can see how good it really can look here. When it's installed professionally and it looks nice. It just adds so much visual appeal to this bedroom in this image. Under the bed, another place, and then of course the cove. Those are the three places you see the blue colored lighting in this image. All of them just create that nice ambient glow, a really nice effect, and then it blends and works well with the single color lighting that you see in the shelves, and then of course the shelf that runs over the top of the bed as well. So lots of different applications here. To go through it again, that shelf lighting is typically going to be tape light or typically going to be an assembled fixture. I would recommend in a situation like this, where you're going to be looking up at these shelves, to go ahead and put it in a fixture. If you're familiar with the look of tape lighting, it's because there's no lens or no covering, you see individual points of light running all the way across. A fixture eliminates that because it goes behind a frosted lens, which distributes that light and creates just a unified light look. So I think that's a pretty important thing to have when it comes to those, just to improve that look that much further. And shelves that are above eye level, fixtures are typically the way to go. One more thing that I'll talk about, and the reason why I disabled the camera here, is if you look in the bottom right corner, there's a nightstand as well. A nightstand is another great place to pick up some illumination in the room. People treat this like a nightlight as well, where basically if you're in the bed, it's not going to detect anything, but as you swing your feet over and put them on the ground, suddenly it detects that motion and your lights underneath that nightstand come on. So it's just another place to think about in bedrooms. Of course, there are plenty of other places in this room where you could add illumination, but these are the kind of the core things that we're seeing going into bedrooms right now. Okay, so let's move on to the next space, and that is the living room. Now, this one is pretty interesting. It's going to be kind of a different take on this, but you can see here, you've got your entertainment center, your built-in cabinets, you've got a staircase, and then lots of decorations. Clearly, this person's a big fan of baseball. They've got a particular look that they're trying to build into this situation, and what is added to the effect is team support, right? And of course, this is RGB lighting. It's multicolor lighting, so it can be any color to match the team that it needs to match. But this is just a really neat idea, something creative coming out of this space that allows throw some extra support behind a sports team. And so, this is RGB lighting. It goes to any color. You could also add single color lighting in there. You can see in various places, you've got your shelf lighting, which again, tape lighter fixtures is going to be most common for shelf lighting. And then you've got the backlit TV again, and your shelf lighting inside the cabinet there. So that cabinet is illuminated all the way through, so you can see the books and things in there. Maybe you're not a big fan of red. Maybe you're not, the lighting's too harsh. Like I said, single color lighting goes very well in there as well. But something that's adjustable is always good, where you can choose the color or the light temperature that you like. Also note on this one on the left side, that staircase that's illuminated. We'll get to that. I'm going to talk about that in a little more detail coming up. But that light underneath those treads creates a really nice look going up those stairs. Other places in the living room before I move on, most of the time the living room is where you're going to see kind of the blend. You may have a fan hanging down with lighting on it. You'll have your ceiling lights, your can lights up there. There are other places where you can add layers. People running along walls, seeing lighting under chair railing and things. All those different types of places where you can put lighting. But there's just plenty of opportunity there, and so that's kind of why we're seeing that growth out and expansion into the living room. Okay, let's talk laundry room, because this one is an interesting one that I don't think a lot of people have typically thought about in the past, but we're seeing a lot of it now because of the added utility and functionality that you get out of having some lighting and some power in the laundry room. And I'll talk about power with this as well and the benefits of that. But, here, unlit versus lit. And you can see here all the emphasis is on workspace lighting. It's on adding that extra lighting for what you're working on at the time. Kind of the same factor of what you're doing in a kitchen. If you're working on a kitchen, preparing food, preparing items, and needing that light to help you guide what you're doing, the laundry room falls right in that same vein. And it's not something that people have done a lot until recently. And so you can see here, I know in this one, you've got the lighted closet rod that runs across the top there. Clothes hanging from it and illuminating those clothes and illuminating the tops. Also think about the fact that, that closet rod helps to illuminate the washing area. So, clothes, things that are piled on there, helps you sort, fold, so on and so forth, right there at the washing devices. Along there, you've also got lighting and power underneath the cabinet. So I talked earlier about the lighted power strip that combines lighting and power into a singular fixture. And that's kind of what's on display here. And it creates a really nice look because the lighting is there on the countertop, but look at, all those receptacles that are built in as well, right? You've got, just several receptacles right there within distance of whatever that you're putting in there. And personally, my experience is that I'm needing more and more power opportunities in my laundry room. For example, I've got a rechargeable vacuum cleaner in there that hangs on the wall. I need a plug for that. I'm a cat owner, so I've got an electronic litter box that plugs in. I need something for that. So more and more, I'm seeing the need for additional power in the laundry room. It's just such a versatile space these days. Most of the time, it's centered right in the place where people are coming in from the garage. Maybe there's a mud rack across the hall, shoes there. Some people are stomping right into the laundry room with dirty shoes and all that. There's a lot going on with this space these days, so there's a lot of opportunity that's created. The last place that's lit here is this lighting above the sink. I think this one is pretty obvious. Same concept that goes to the kitchen. Illuminating that space above the sink allows you to see what's going on down there. If you're trying to get a stain out of clothing, you're washing something, you can really see how the effect that you're having on that as you're working. So all these things and more make the laundry room one of probably the quickest growing places where we're seeing lighting being added in the home. It's something to see because more and more people are getting on board with it. And it's all just because of this, because it adds all this functionality, all this utility to every installation. So that's what we love to see, right? And it's just that extra ingenuity that comes along with it that improves the space and ultimately leads to just a better end result. Wine bars, and this, this one can be expanded out. Sometimes you've got home bars or home pubs, various things that people are installing in their home that are kind of a piece where they can sit, the fancier alcohols, or they can sit wine or things like that, just to create a nice visual effect. And this one really, really has a good visual effect because it has this blue backsplash. So when we go from unlit to lit, it just makes such a difference in this space. And this is going to be a place where you'll see lots of different customization that goes along with it. This is kind of a showpiece in a lot of homes, and so you'll see people using a flexible sheet light to backlight the countertop, and you'll see lighting coming through that. If they have a translucent stone, that backlighting will light all the way through that and make the stone have this glowing effect that looks super nice. And there's just so much that they're doing. And this one, again, you can see the lighted power strip is installed underneath those cabinets. So there's receptacles that run all the way across there, adding lots and lots of opportunity. This is going to be a place where oftentimes, whenever it's not being used as a showpiece, it's being used for utility. So you might have chargers, phones on chargers, tablets, various devices like that. You might have a coffee maker here if you're not so much into the wine. You might have a coffee bar. And the same concept kind of applies to that. So, in this one, we've got our interior cabinet lighting, which, of course, with these white dishes creates a really nice looking glow, really illuminates the space, and, helps to add, that visual appeal. And then the power under the cabinets. I talked about the lighted power strip running through there. So these are the core two things that are being done kind of in these wine bars, that paired with sometimes that illuminated countertop surface just gives you more options to use and have this place. Now, look below before I move on. See that there's a wine chiller and there's also that wine rack as well. I have seen in plenty of situations somebody run back behind there with tape lighting and illuminate that actual the wine, I guess the wine holder place. Each one of those cross braces, you can see illumination back in behind there. It creates an emphasis on the wine, what they're showing off. It's a really nice look, and I see people do that quite a bit nowadays. So those are just some ideas on what to do with the wine bar, coffee bar, home pub, various options and things like that. Okay, I talked earlier about the staircase and said we'd go into more detail about that. So this is another thing that we see a lot. Obviously, this one I think goes beyond just aesthetic appeal because it adds so much positive effect to it. In this particular home, I know that they installed this lighting with a motion detector so that when you walk into the stair corridor, this light comes on and works for you. So it's a really neat little situation. And when it's lit up, you can kind of see the effect that has. Emphasis on the rail. You can know exactly where it is. If it's dark at night, it's going to provide lots of illumination in the staircase, so you won't be slipping, falling, rolling down the stairs, God forbid. That's not what you want to see on that. So this is a great addition to that. When you add that lighting, it's tucked underneath that railing there, and then shining downward. Now, you may look at this and say, why is all the light focused on the left side of this staircase? Now, this is a personal preference, okay? So this is not a limitation. If you wanted, you could position this lighting to where it creates a wash all the way across those staircase and along the spaces. These particular people in this installation, they wanted to create that glow against the wall and then on the treads, so you know exactly where they were in those specific places. So that way, if you're following that railing, you can follow the stairs to go along with it. Again, it's all personal preference. The lighting can be adjusted and flexed and customized to fully illuminate that space if you so choose. It just comes down to what you're looking for from installation to installation. Here's another staircase with some tread lighting. This is the other place, I mentioned a few slides ago when we were looking at that entertainment center in the living room, the staircase that was illuminated. Here's another great example of that. You can see the lighting has been added individually underneath each stair, and it it does exactly the kind of the same function as lighting that railing up, right? It's going to let you know exactly where those steps are, where you're taking those steps, and where you're moving forward when it's dark. And it also just looks really nice. It just looks really good. In this particular one, there's a couple different ways that you can go about this. You can either install maybe tape lighting directly underneath on the bottom side of those treads, shining down and illuminating that step. You can also kind of do like they've done here and create this line of light that runs along the base of each tread, right? And so it illuminates out, and it shines more upward than downward, and so it helps create some additional upward illumination and glow on that space. So different options, it's variable for kind of what you're looking for. I know that there's a large swath of people that don't want to see the lights ever. They don't want to ever look directly into the lights, and that's perfectly reasonable. And that's why you can tuck it up underneath that stair tread and go there as well. So just another neat installation application for putting lighting into a staircase. The garage is the next space I'll talk about. And this one, it's pretty straightforward. It's a workspace that needs illumination, right? In a garage, a lot of times you're working on countertops, you're working in places. This is a really nice example where they've got some cabinets and some tools hung up here. Nice and organized, much more organized than my garage. But then that extra lighting there just has such a nice effect on that space. Allows you to see what you're doing. If you're working with tools, obviously visibility is key, and so that added effect is just it's just a nice addition to this space. These cabinets are installed out here, so that's got the lighted power strip that runs all the way across. I think that's super important for especially a garage space, kind of similar to the laundry room, where you've got all these applications where you need to use power for something. Having a lighted power strip, puts that all at your fingertips. You got all this additional power that runs through there, all this lighting to light the workspace. And so this is just what makes this extra applicable, I think, in the garage, is adding that utility to the space. So, this is one example. There are plenty of things that you can light. If you've got workspaces and saw, you've got, table saws and miter saws and all these different things that you might be using regularly out in the garage. Having that additional illumination in and around those objects just makes the workspace visually more appealing, but also safer for everyone who's using those tools. So garage is another place we're seeing more lighting coming up. And so then, of course, we will talk about outdoor spaces, because this is becoming more and more popular in pretty much every place where you get a decent seasonal summer. You see these outdoor spaces popping up. People are more invested in getting that extra time outside in these spaces where they can relax. And so to illuminate this space, look at the effect that this has, right? This is already a beautiful scene, but just the comfort effect that this light produces just really takes it up a notch, creates the atmosphere of relaxation very deeply. And it's a really, really nice look overall. So I think that you'll start to see this in more and more outdoor spaces where people are putting a lot of effort into creating a space that they want to feel comfortable in. That's what the lighting aids with in this particular installation here. That extra comfort level, when the sun goes down, it's a beautiful sunset in the picture, but then it goes down and you'll have darkness. And so rather than harsh floodlights or something that you normally see outside, this little glow allows you to extend your night, stay out on the porch, and it looks great, feels great. The atmosphere is just that much better. And then, of course, cove lighting here on this one. Okay. The last thing that I'll kind of go through here is just some other spaces we're seeing it pop up. Places that haven't caught on as much yet, but we're starting to see more and more of, and I felt were worth noting. One of those is the pantry. And that's typically, you've got a pantry. If it's a walk-in pantry, you've got typically, illuminating those shelves creates a lot of added impact on what's being stored beneath them. You can see things clearly. I know in my pantry, I've got to reach way back behind stuff to get to things sometimes. And so it's not quite so easy, and especially when you can't see. So the added illumination is really good for a pantry. Pantry is another great place where you could put those lights on a sensor, hide the sensor away where it can't be seen. But when you open that pantry door and you walk in, boom, there are your lights. They come on. All your shelves are now illuminated. You can see exactly what you're doing and working in that space. So just a nice added effect there. Playrooms and game rooms, these are just other additional, bonus rooms in the home where you can add some lighting to add extra effect. I think that's pretty self-explanatory there. If you're in a playroom, you've got oftentimes you'll have some kind of bar. We talked about the effects that you can add to bars. You'll have, if it's a game room, you'll have, whether it's table games, things like that. I've seen people add lighting to air hockey tables and all kind of different things like that. So there's neat little things that you can do there as you design that out. And excuse me. And there's just other various places where lighting can go into those. For home offices and studies, this is another one that feels pretty straightforward, right? I mean, you've got a workspace here, very similar again to a kitchen or a laundry room space where you need that additional illumination to add and enhance that workspace. And that's exactly what's being done here. And in the image in the background here, you can see that as well. This is a place where there's a computer set up. You've got books on a shelf. All this extra illumination brightens that area up, makes it not so dark and undesirable. It makes it something that, even though it's a place where you work, it's still something that you can show off and can look nice as well. So more functionality, better visual appeal is kind of the theme that I keep coming back to on this. And you can see that applied here. And then lastly, I'll talk about the home gym, which is another place in the homes. If people are putting in a space that's dedicated to training or to working out or exercise, adding some additional lighting there in several different ways could be great, right? People add lighting to their machinery, but what you can do whenever you're installing it into that room is you can create toe kick illumination that blasts out and illuminates a floor space. If somebody's working out on the floor, they've got weights, they're moving around, adding that extra illumination creates a lot of good functional appeal in that space as well. So those are just a couple other places that you can be thinking about, but it's popping up all over the home. Really, it's pretty impressive the places that we're seeing lighting going in nowadays, and to be able to share that with you guys and give you ideas. I hope that I've kind of given you that inspiration today to go out and start really opening it up and looking at other places where lighting can go and be installed in the home. So that brings me to kind of the close of what I was going to talk about today. This last slide here, I just wanted to talk about some tools that we have to kind of support you. I know that venturing out of the kitchen can be a little daunting, figuring out where the lighting goes and how to illuminate various spaces. But we've got our design services team that I will never stop bragging about because they're just so good at what they do. They do lighting designs and lighting questions and tech support full time. This is what they focus on doing. And so you can call and email anytime, or you can, the number there is listed. If you want to take it down, the email there is listed as well. Send them a layout. You can send that if you've got a drawing of a space that you're interested in lighting, but you're not sure how to approach that. Send them that design and they'll lay it all out for you. They'll tell you how to power it. They'll tell you where the lighting goes, tell you how to control it. It's limitless really what they can provide to you when it comes to lighting applications and various tools there. So highly encourage you to lean on them and use them as support, especially as you get more and more involved in lighting and deeper and you're expanding out the places where you're putting it in homes. So can't recommend them enough. And then I've got a couple of QR codes here if you're interested in taking a look at those. One of them takes you to the Task Lighting Home website where you can kind of explore around and see what we offer and various things, get some ideas and some inspiration, galleries and guides and all that good stuff. It can be found right there on our website. And then if you want some more information on design services and what they can provide, that second QR code, that'll be good. That should be kind of some tools to help you out with what you need. But at this point, I think that I'm through the presentation, so I'm going to turn it over to Melissa and let her run through some questions, and I'll give answers. Hopefully, you guys have some good questions, and I'll get you some answers.
Yeah, just real quick, can you turn off your camera for just a second, just in case people want to
Yes, I'm
scan
sure.
the design services? But the design services flyers is in the resources tab as well, so you can download it from there too. But a couple questions we have. For the stair lighting, are you using strips or fixtures? And I think this is probably with the stair rail.
Okay, so with the stair lighting, this is kind of another one of those optional sections. I mean, we see a lot of people putting tape lighting under there because it's nice and creates illumination. But there's another thing that you can do with a fixture that you can put it into an angled profile. And when I say that, think about a fixture that kind of sits at a 90-degree angle, and it's going to throw light out in a direction rather than straight down on a surface. If that light is installed, it'll throw light all the way across that stair tread, and it creates a really nice effect because you're getting that full illumination all the way across the stair every time. And so it's really a preference. You do what you'd like to do. The lighting, the tape lighting across underneath the tread works just great, but the fixture creates that really cool wash of light across the treads.
And then sticking with the stairs, can you use a sensor on the stair rails?
Yes, you definitely can. So as long as you've got a place to put it, if it's like behind the railing or something like that, you've just got to have it. In the slide that I talked about earlier, where I mentioned that they had a sensor that was controlling those lights, they actually pre-installed that when they built the house in the ceiling. So it's angled down. So when someone walks to the base of the stairs or walks at the top of the stairs, it's angled down and it detects that motion, and that's when the lights come on there. So you can do it with pre-planning, but if you're looking to do something, after the fact, there's still plenty of places where you can hide a sensor and get a good angle on the stairs to light that up. So yes, you can do that.
And going to the bathroom, are you able to put any kind of lighting in the shower? And if so, what type of lighting do you recommend?
Oh, sure. Okay, so this is a good question. And the great thing that you can do about in showers these days is you look for a waterproof lighting. So the great thing is that Task Lighting offers a waterproof lighting if you're looking for an option for that. It comes standard on most of our rolls of tape lighting. It's a waterproof coating that's going to be IP65 rated, and if that doesn't mean anything to you, then just know that it means that you can actually spray a pressurized jet of water at it, and it's not going to damage it in any way. So basically, in that situation, you would just want to install it so that all your connections are tucked away, because that's going to be your most vulnerable things. But the lighting itself, it can be exposed to moisture, dampness of any kind. It's not going to be a big deal for that installation. So yeah, that's kind of what I would recommend to it. You can put a fixture in. I've seen people do kind of like a recessed fixture. They'll put it flush with the floor around the edges of the shower and let the water kind of run over that. But that just takes a little extra precaution. If you're going to have constant water sitting on top of something, you need to take those extra precautions to make sure everything is tight and sealed. But yeah, as far as moisture goes, waterproof tape lighting is definitely my recommendation on that.
And that would work on the outside as well, wouldn't it?
Yes. For the outside, I would always recommend using a waterproof tape lighting just because of humidity and humidity, moisture, things that you're going to come in contact with commonly in an outdoor space. Waterproof tape lighting or fixtures that are built using waterproof tape lighting like ours are ideal for those situations.
And then going back to the laundry room, can you go over the different fixtures that you used in the laundry room?
Oh yeah, without a doubt. So the first one that we used was a lighted closet rod, and so that runs across. It's exactly what it sounds like. It's a closet rod, to hang clothes on, but it has that extra illumination to shine down on the clothes. We also in this laundry room, in the example that I had, we used a lighted power strip for the countertop surface, where basically you've got your receptacles that run all the way across, your lighting that runs all the way across, and then shines down on that countertop. But it still allows you access to that power without disrupting anything or having to add more receptacles in the wall or cutting backsplash or anything like that. You just install that lighted power strip to get the extra power. And then the third thing we had was just standard lighting, tape lighting or a fixture. Depends on whatever your preference is. That was lighting over that sink. You can mix lighting like that. You can actually install it. Typically, the lighted power strip is, a lot of times it's a self-contained device. So when you're making that power connection, um, it's going to power the lights as well, and you don't have to worry about anything else. But with the light, like you can put a closet rod and a fixture on that same run of power. They're not different types of lights. They're not going to interfere with each other. So it's nice and easy to just have one source of power, run it through a fixture, and then you can run straight into a closet rod as well, share that run of power. So yeah, that's kind of what we're doing in the laundry.
All right, and right for now, the last question. So if you guys do have a question, type it in real quick. Are you seeing RGB being installed on the outside of the house, or are you seeing mainly like single color?
So I actually see a pretty good mix. It kind of goes back and forth. Most of the time, what I see is like for a back porch area, like the one that I showed previously. People go with a single color light there. They just want that kind of glow to illuminate that space and make it relaxing and things like that. Where I see RGB quite a bit is especially in backyards that have pools. People love to put that lighting near and around their pool because it adds that extra kind of cool illumination there. And then I've also seen it installed. If you have like raised beds or you've got a terraced effect in the backyard, people are lighting those terraces with RGB and making that glow and change colors. It just, it creates a fun backyard space, nice for entertaining and things like that. All the stuff that you're doing out there. One other thing I'll mention about an outdoor space is the growth of outdoor cabinetry installations. So I've been seeing a lot more of that recently, where people are putting in those outdoor grade cabinets, and they're illuminating those as well. So a lot of them have like drop-ins for grills and things like that. So they're putting those grills in their cabinets, and then they just illuminate the whole space, and it looks so sharp. It really does. Totally changes the way that that outdoor space feels.
Great. Well, those are all the questions that we have for today. As I mentioned previously, there is going to be a recording of this webinar that will be sent out to everybody who registered, even if somebody wasn't able to attend that, rest assured that they will get sent a recording of the webinar. I'd just like to thank everybody once again for attending, and thank you very much, Keith. You did a great job. Bye, everybody.
Yeah, thank you, Melissa, and thank you, everybody. I appreciate it, and have a great day.
Bye.